Hi everyone, good morning and thank you for joining our webinar today. We are hosting a webinar called Maximizing Medicare Advantage Data in Your COB Strategy. And we are about to get started, so I will pass it over to our presenters, Rebecca and Sherry. If you have any questions, I will be monitoring the chat throughout the webinar as well.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca Beatty. I'm the Senior Manager of Strategic Product Management here at CAQH, and I oversee our COB solution. And with me today, I have Sherry Richardson, who is the Growth and Program Director of COB Program Integrity at Carelon. Sherry, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. Good morning. I am Sherry Richardson. Some of you may know me as Sherry Murray Richardson, and I am with Elevance Carelon. Been doing COB for a long time, and I was excited to and said yes to speak to you this morning about the advantages of COB with Medicare Advantage, because I know that in the industry today, there's so much happening in that space. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about Medicare Advantage and how to maximize your savings.
Great. Thank you so much, Sherry. Some quick housekeeping and logistical notes for you before we get started. If you do have any questions, you can type those into the question panel on the upper right-hand side. And as Sam mentioned, she is monitoring those questions, and you will not be able to speak, but you can certainly type your questions into that panel and we will answer them as we have time. And we do also have the handout available for the presentation. If you would like to download a copy of this afterward, there is going to be a PDF presentation that you can download at the end of the webinar. So what we're going to be covering today, first we're going to look at some Medicare Advantage data trends from our COB solution. We're going to talk through some recommendations for better managing the quality of your Medicare Advantage data. And then Sherry's going to be talking through some of the best practices that she and her team use to get the most out of her Medicare Advantage data. So first we want to just talk a little bit about our heat map. We have continued to increase the number of health plans who are using COB Smart. So we always like to show the progress on this heat map of the plans that we've added. So the states that are in dark blue are the states where we have close to 100% penetration. And when I joined the solution, this map was a lot more light blue. And over the years, we have added a ton of membership. And so this map continues to get darker and darker blue. We just have a few states where we are still working on increasing our penetration, but overall, we have quite good participation in the COB solution. We've added over 60 million members in the past 3 years. And of course, as you all know, the more members that we're able to add to the solution, the more access to data that you all have, and the more valuable the solution becomes. So we're always very excited when we're able to add additional plans to the COB solution. So a couple of data trends specific to Medicare Advantage. We have seen a pretty significant increase in the total Medicare Advantage membership in COB since we launched the solution in 2019. We only had about 10.8 million Medicare Advantage members, and as you can see, that has steadily increased. In 2023, we have 23.9 million Medicare Advantage members, and of course we have over 200 million total members in the solution. So we have quite a few members that have data in the solution that is available to all of you. We've also seen the average COB rate on Medicare Advantage membership increase pretty significantly, I think in large part because we've added so much membership to the solution, because of course the more membership that we add, the more matches we're able to find. So in 2019, when we had only 10.8 million Medicare Advantage members, this average COB rate was around 4.9%. And in 2023, it's up to 11.5%. So pretty significant increase in the overall ability to match members and find COB, especially for this line of business. One thing that we wanted to also draw your attention to is some of the most common undetermined primacy codes specifically for Medicare Advantage members. These are the situations in which we are able to make a match, but we are not able to determine primacy. So the first, of course, being that there are more than one Medicare Advantage plans in that match, so both plans being Medicare. And then the second most common, and this is true across pretty much all lines of business, is those U004 codes, in which we find that there are more than 2 plans in that match. So this is 3 or more coverages for a member, and our system is unable to determine primacy in those situations. We also sometimes see that the reason for Medicare entitlement is not applicable. That's the third most common reason why we're unable to determine primacy. The fourth, the reason for Medicare entitlement is undefined. And the fifth, subscriber employment status is unknown. So we wanted to highlight these because these are areas where we want to ensure that the plans are keeping their files up to date and including this information, especially the reason for Medicare entitlement and the subscriber employment status. If those fields are not populated, it does prevent us in many cases from making a primacy determination. So one of the best ways to improve your primacy determination, especially on this line of business, is to make sure that those fields are populated, that they are populated correctly, and that you are keeping those up to date. So we have some processes. We do have suggestions for the best way to manage the data that comes to you from the COB solution. We have heard many plans say that they find, they have trouble getting through all of the data that we share with you. So what we recommend is first looking at your active records that have been determined and that data validation has told you are active. So first you're going to look for active records with determined primacy, meaning that both payers in the overlap are active. And those you should feel comfortable auto-loading because in those cases we were able to determine primacy. We checked that both payers were in fact active. So those particular overlaps should not require any further investigation. You should be able to just auto-load those into your system and have those available for any time that a claim comes in. The next step is to review active records with undetermined primacy and prioritize. So the first, you're going to be auto-loading those records that we know are active. Second, you're going to be looking at those that came back. We were able to find a match. We found that they were active, so we know that it is a true overlap, but we were not able to determine primacy. So these are going to require a little bit more investigation because you are going to need to determine primacy on these records, but at least you don't need to validate that these records are still active. So this is why we recommend viewing these next. Finally, we recommend that you're looking at records where your health plan is listed as inactive because that's telling you that that member should have been termed in the system. It's still showing as active on your weekly file, but the data validation service has told us that that member is not in fact active any longer. And so those members need to be terminated. If you can term those members and clean those members up, that can really help to improve your primacy determination. As we showed in that slide previously, these types of situations tend to cause tertiaries. They tend to cause those U006s. So these are causing false overlaps because this member is showing as active when they are not in fact active. So one of the best ways that you can improve your overall data quality and primacy determination is looking at those members that are coming back as inactive and terming those members. And then over time, we recommend taking a look at any data that seems to be missing termination date. So these are your missing records. These are those records that are coming back as inactive from the data validation service. These are your U codes. So you should be looking at this information that we're sending you every week and kind of trending where you're seeing there are a lot of missing records or where there are a lot of members that are coming back as inactive or a lot of U codes from a certain population. And we highly recommend terming those, figuring out what is the root cause of those missing termination dates, and then terming those members and working with your IT team to determine the best way to do that. Then on a monthly basis, we recommend that you meet with the CAQH team. You should be meeting with your account manager at least once a month to look at your dashboard reports. Those dashboard reports also bring out a lot of trends for you to review. They show how your primacy determination is looking, how you're stacking up against the other health plans. We also recommend that you monitor portal utilization by your team members. So you have that analytics feature in the portal where you can see what your team members are doing on the portal. We highly recommend that you look at that on a fairly regular basis. Make sure that you don't have people who have never logged into the portal. We want to keep that access. We want to be careful about who has access to the portal. So making sure that you're removing people who have access but have never used it or have not used it in a very long time. Making sure that people are taking advantage of all of the different items that we have in the portal. We're also giving you several reports to review, so you should be reviewing those every month. One being your group migrations report. The group migrations report will tell you how many group migrations that you have outstanding that you have not reviewed. So when a group migrates from either within your plan or from your plan to another plan, our system has logic to flag that group has likely migrated if you have not termed all of those members. So the group migrations report will call those out for you so you can see if you have any that are outstanding that you need to review. And all you have to do is go into the portal, say, yes, this is correct, and we will actually term all those members in that group on your behalf. We also recommend looking at your billing audit report regularly. Your billing audit report will tell you how many members that you have that are live in the system. This is, of course, what we use to determine what rate you are charged. So we want to make sure that what we are seeing as the total active membership that you have in the system mirrors what you believe your total active membership is. So this is something that you should be just keeping track of. If you're seeing a big discrepancy here, this is definitely something that you should look into. And then, of course, staying on top of your inquiries. Everybody, I think, has been taking great advantage of the inquiry feature in the portal. At this point, everybody loves sending inquiries, but we also need to make sure that everybody is staying on top of responding to inquiries. And your inquiry report will pull out all of the outstanding and aged inquiries that you have. As we said before, you want to look at all records where your health plan coverage status is inactive and terminate those members. And then we are constantly rolling out enhancements to the COB solution. So we try to give you a lot of heads up when that's happening. But to make the most of those enhancements, we certainly recommend, sometimes there are resources needed on your end to really take advantage of those. So just making sure that you have ongoing resources available to help you utilize all the things that we are rolling out in the solution. And then finally, we recommend that you look at your top undetermined primacy drivers, so those U codes. And many of those are often driven by plans needing to make changes to their file or add termination dates. And we have a best practices document that talks about the top U codes and what needs to be done if you're seeing those U codes. If you need that document, you can certainly ask your account manager for that document. But staying on top of those U codes and looking at trends and what is driving your undetermined primacy will help you to get the most out of the solution. On a quarterly basis, we recommend looking at, updating your membership forecast, determining if there's any additional membership that you would like to add to the solution. And you can always reach out to your account manager if you want to do that. We recommend, as I said, looking at your U codes, looking at your inactives, and making sure that those are, that you're addressing those and staying on top of those. And then at least quarterly, we recommend doing an audit of your portal users and deleting any inactive users. And then finally, sorry, this slide is advancing on me. Finally, we recommend, just looking at the files that you're submitting to us. Many of you build those in implementation, but we recommend at least once a year looking at those submission formats, making sure that what is pulling into that file is still correct, that you're populating all the fields that you're able to populate. The more fields that you are able to populate, the better results you will get from the system. So that is one thing that we recommend looking into at least once a year to make sure that those are still correct. And then, of course, we do like to track metrics. So we ask that you report those to your account manager at least once a year, just what trends you're seeing, how you're doing, the value that you're getting out of the solution. We ask that you report those to us annually. We do like to track those. We like to see whether those are going up or down. That helps us to make changes to the solution. So we do ask that you report those to us at least once a year. One thing that we did want to talk about today is a plan enhancement that we're looking to pilot next year. As you saw, a lot of the U codes that we mentioned earlier tend to be driven by missing term dates. And this is something that we've traditionally asked most health plans to stay on top of. And certainly we do still want health plans to stay on top of terming members in a timely manner. But what we are looking into is actually a way to assist health plans with doing that, because we know, especially if you have data pulling from multiple systems, oftentimes it can be hard to stay on top of terming members in a timely manner. So we're working with Experian. They have some proprietary business rules and logic that can actually retrieve or generate term dates. And so we are going to be doing a pilot to see how well this works. The goal would be for when the system identifies a missing record, when the system sees something come back as inactive from data validation, and in the future, when we're looking at those U codes that are driven by two Medicaid or two Medicare plans that we know likely are not true positives, that are requiring one of those segments to be termed. We're looking at ways to actually auto-apply term dates to these types of members. So the goal would be to do a pilot of this service in late Q1. If you're interested in participating in the pilot, please reach out to me or your account manager. Our goal is to check this logic to see how well Experian was actually able to retrieve or generate those term dates. So we'd be looking for you to kind of do a small audit of a sample of your membership where we pulled term dates and see if those term dates are correct. But we're very excited about this. We think this will really help clean up a lot of the data quality issues that we're seeing system-wide. We think this will make it a lot easier for plans to stay on top of their weekly files. So we really want to test this and make sure it works. But our goal would be to do a pilot of this first and then hopefully roll this out system-wide after we test it out. And then one other thing that we were asking is we have in years past tried to approach CMS about actually participating in the COB solution because we would obviously, I think, all benefit from the CMS data actually being in the CAQH COB platform. So what we're looking to do is bring together a coalition of health plans to approach CMS together about actually participating. We think that we will have a lot more sway with them if we can bring together a large coalition of health plans to approach them. We have some new contacts there that we think we may be able to make some more inroads with. So we just would ask if this is something that you're at all interested in, if you would like to see CMS data in COB, please reach out to us. And we'll be scheduling some meetings to try to bring some health plans together and formulate the best plan for actually approaching them and seeing if we can get them to join. So my contact information is here, so please reach out to me if you're interested in doing the pilot for the missing records, or if you're interested in joining the conversation with CMS, or both. Please feel free to reach out to me, or you can always reach out to your account manager as well, because these are two things that we think will really add a ton of value to the system, and we just need to bring health plans together to make this happen. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sherry to talk a little bit about her approach for using MA data and making the most of the data that she's getting from the COB solution.
Thank you, Rebecca. Nice job. Rebecca just shared with you multiple tips that can help maximize the accuracy of your data as well as expedite working your data. And just for a moment, I'd like to emphasize that there are multiple pros to having CMS data exchanges with our data and CMS data being in the COB solution, and that you have one consistent source submitting and receiving your data and returning it to you in one consistent format. In addition to that, there are many pros and improvements where CMS could benefit from receiving one file separated by payer as opposed to hundreds of files separated by payers and multiple payer systems. So anyway, if you're interested in joining us in discussions with CMS to encourage them, they were interested in talking to CAQH, but they asked us to wait until we had the majority of the insureds in the United States in the COB program. And today, I think there's in the 90s, high 90s percentage of covered lives in CAQH COB. So I'm hopeful with my communications in CAQH that they're willing to listen to us and talk about how they can work together to now include our Medicare data as well as our commercial data in the tool. So I'm going to jump in and talk to you about the Elevance approach. Our Caroline program manages the Elevance COB, as you know, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of what we're doing with the CAQH solution today as it relates to Medicare Advantage or just government business in general. So we submit, with our 14 Blues plans, we submit 100% of the Medicare Advantage member policies that we administer, and we submit the Medicaid for the Medicaid states that we administer to the solution every week. And, we send that over. CAQH does their thing, bounces it against all of the data of everyone that participates, and returns to us any of our Medicare Advantage or Medicaid members who also have another commercial payer in the tool. It has dual and sometimes triple overlaps. And we review those records with the, we review the records that not just were identified primacy through the solution, but we review the undetermined records as well. We internally have a second primacy tool, if you will, that ingests the data. And this our internal tool prioritizes the data for us in a kind of like a hierarchy of what you should work first, second, third, based on multiple things like maybe the back sweep of claims and timeliness of recoveries, or highest dollars, right? Like maybe different types of COB reasons, like where might the highest dollars be. There's just like 5 or 6 key pieces of information that we use to help us prioritize and rank the data for internal research. And this helps us to fill the gaps in determining the primacy. We run our remaining data once CAQH has used their primacy tool. We get it in, we ingest it, we manipulate it, we run it through our internal tool. Then we further automate the CAQH data, bringing another 20 to 30% touchless to that data. So CAQH hands it over, it's 50-60% touchless for us. I run it through my second engine and I increase that by about 20%, which really reduces the volume of data that human eyes has to look at. So then we work the remaining percentage with specialists, obviously, and they're looking at the data, determining the primacy. And in this tool that we use, the manual data, the tool goes into like 6, 7 different source systems, depending on the membership type, and grabs information that the human eyes would need to manually go grab from different screens and different sources, and populates it in the workflow tool for the specialist. So this final step greatly expedites the length of time it used to take us to work something manual, because all of the key elements that are required for determining primacy are presented to the specialist. And so if there is a final gap, left over, like let's say the popular one where we always have to do outreach is we needed a copy of the divorce decree. The tool gives me everything I need and creates that letter or that communication, whether it's an actual letter or whether it is something that we send to them in the secure portal. However our members have requested to be communicated with, we are able to expedite that process, so that at the end of the day, we've shrunk the amount of manual work to about 30%, which is obviously, you can see, greatly expedites how long it takes you to work your CAQH data. These files are able to be worked from week to week. And if we advance to the next slide, we'll talk about why that's a big advantage. All right, so you heard Rebecca talk about Medicare Advantage a little bit, and staying on top of your primacy changes and how to prioritize how to prioritize your data. Staying on top, and when I mean staying on top, I mean identifying as fast as possible that your Medicare Advantage member has a different commercial payer, termed their other commercial payer, left an employer, and maybe got picked up on their wife's or their spouse's commercial payer. Staying on top of those changes when they happen reduces work all across your operational organization. It reduces provider abrasion. It reduces member confusion. So by sending Medicare Advantage over to CAQH every week, and them sending back to me the overlaps and the terms and the changes and the adds and the deletes, I mean, running it through my engine and either totally touchlessly loading it to that change to my membership system, or giving it to someone to manually work, I'm reducing work across my entire organization. I'm giving a considerable admin lift by using these tools. In today's industry, in today's market, if you will, I'm sure all of you have seen the same type of churn with Medicare Advantage and Medicaid in the last 3 to 4 years. We've always had discussion of this Medicaid churn, members coming in and out of Medicaid, dropping it for a few months, having to go fill out their paperwork, get reapproved again, coming back in, and we're constantly trying to stay on top of, when we're primary and when we're secondary. Same thing for Medicare Advantage. And in the last few years, with 2020, we saw mass numbers of people who were ordinarily eligible and could receive Medicare benefits at age 65, but today people don't quit working at 65. They work much longer. When COVID hit, a lot of people just exited the workforce and took their Medicare. Things have calmed down. Those same people are going back into the workforce, right? So, and even as that happens, you're seeing 10,000 citizens a day moving and enrolling in Medicare. Many of those people, actually in my population, about 13, 14%, still are working, still on a large group, and still have other commercial coverage. And they're moving jobs, and their employer changes insurance companies at re-enrollment time. COB The CAQH COB tool allows you week to week to stay on top of those changes for your Medicaid and your Medicare Advantage members. If you use the tool, and you use the data, and then you create or use the automation that's available today, this helps you stay on top of those changes. And if any of you lead or manage claims and operations and service and COB, you know that there are thousands of claims and inquiries, and edits and recoveries and phone calls that happen because of a delayed, sometimes months delayed update of primacy when our members have life event changes. You can automate in multiple ways today that reduces your manual work. Then you can leverage the COB solution with the NAIC rules engines. And then within our organization, we've created this internal automation, created the NAIC, a duplicate of the NAIC rules engine. And all of this reduces our operations work with a very proactive and preventative approach to COB. Next slide. So merging, we talked a little bit about this already. Merging your CAQH solution with CMS amplifies your data outcomes. It absolutely standardizes working COB across your whole organization. If every week you're sending all of your membership to CAQH, CMS is sending theirs, everything goes into the tool, it comes back to you in one file, then you've standardized your approach. That itself eliminates work for you across and eliminates the it creates a more timely data share and definitely creates more timely primacy updates. Streamlining the commercial and the HUE reporting, right? Like CMS requires, quarterly for MSP, etc. But we're able to, as commercial payers, we're able to streamline and create HUE reporting for data sent to CAQH that allows just the one source. Additional data reduces provider and member abrasion. This is the biggest piece for me. The biggest benefit is that it takes the provider and the member out of the middle, and it's having CAQH and CMS join our COB Smart program absolutely helps to improve how the industry processes COB today. It's very painful for our providers. Most of us, the provider sends us a claim, we deny it and tell him to bill Elevance as prime. Elevance pays, sends you back the EOB, now you pay second. Sometimes 2 or 3 months might lapse in between all of that happening. Your members now getting balance billed from the provider. Our providers are looking at those of us in the insurer industry to eliminate these pain points. Use the tools that are available, like COB Smart, like the automation tools that you can create or that you can use in the industry. Use these tools. Make COB transparent. Tell me when I file my claim that there's multiple insurance, who to bill first, who to bill second. By CMS joining this program, that's the next step towards us being able to come together as an industry and eliminate the pain for our providers and members when they have 2 coverages. And then combined NAIC rules engine increases application of the tool engine, increases your primacy identification. It also drives the data load automation. What we found across our organization in 14 plans, the MSP demands are no fun. And I know many of you work with, actually work the MSP demands within your org like my team does. This has resulted in a reduction of MSP demands and a reduction in the necessary rework. What we find is the demands, great reduction, they tend to be more accurate because our data that we have in our system is accurate. And so we're paying claims properly when they come through the door. There's less outbound contacts needed to be made, whether you're calling CMS or another payer or other entities. There were considerably less contacts. it results across the board in total program savings. While you may be identifying other coverage prime, other coverage termed, other coverage changing from one commercial payer to another week to week to week, and you're very timely making that change. So maybe your look back period on recoveries is now 2 weeks instead of 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, even 12 months in some cases. If some of us use second, third, fourth pass vendors, they're, you know, we use primacy lag so that we don't step on top of each other, right? So, but you can greatly reduce that look back, which it greatly reduces incoming phone calls, incoming claims to be reworked, recovery work that needs to be done. You increase going forward your total program savings. So while you may not see the a 6-8 month look back for a member, now you're loading COB on all of your data and you're keeping up with it. You've reduced work across your entire organization, and at the same time, your savings don't decrease. You know, you've always got COB, you've always got changes. Maybe you've got a shorter look back, but you've got to look back on more members because you're working all of your data. And then you've got that future savings because you're coordinating benefits accurately. And so you're paying secondary where you should and primary where you should. And then you've also got the added lift and the added savings of the admin. And I know that all of us struggle, you know, with staffing models, and we want to use the resources that we have. We want to maximize them the best as possible. So we're taking advantage of the data and the program, the automation tools that's available to you in the industry. You're able to do that, and it helps to accomplish the goal that our providers are asking us and our members are asking us, which is to eliminate the pain points for trying to coordinate benefits when we have two coverages. I said a lot fast, and I am happy to answer questions if there are any.
All right, does anybody have any questions? You can put those in the chat window to the right. This is your opportunity to ask Sherry. She just shared a ton of fantastic information. If you have any questions for me or for her, like more details, please put them in the chat window.
Okay, I also put my email if you have a question or something you would like to get a response in writing or would like to talk about it one-on-one, please feel free to write me.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Well, it doesn't seem like we have questions, but feel free to please reach out to us afterward if you have any questions. As Sherry mentioned, she just put her email in the chat for everyone. My email is in the deck, which you can download in the handouts portion. So if you would like to review this again, please feel free to look at the handout, and please feel free to reach out to either of us afterwards if you think of anything. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, especially right after a long holiday. We always appreciate having a chance to speak to you and share information and best practices with you. And as I mentioned, please do reach out if you're interested in joining the coalition of plans who will be approaching CMS, or if you are interested in participating in the Term Date Finder pilot. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.